today's episode of Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, I sit down with today's episode sponsor, Brant and Marty from Hasty Baker, to talk all about their new game on Kickstarter. Hang on until after the interview when we announce an awesome giveaway we've teamed up with them to bring you. Then we'll see what else is on Kickstarter, but first a message from our sponsors. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by our friends over at Go Chuckle LLC, who just launched Hasty Baker, which is the kind of card game I could see becoming a household favorite. The concept's fresh with its baking theme, plus you won't get your kitchen all dirty through baking, but you can still bring this to your tabletop. The illustrations are just great. You just get this super positive vibe that I love. I think they did a great job of building strategy into the game by making the cards able to help or hurt other players. For example, one of the cards they have in the game is a double bats card on a recipe. Whether it's your own or someone else's, means that you have to get double all the ingredients to finish the recipe, which obviously is going to slow your opponent down, but it also gives the player double points. So it's not as straightforward as it might sound. Hang on until our Kickstarter corner portion of the show to find out about an awesome giveaway we've teamed up with them to bring you guys over at thegiveawaygeek.com, of course. Today's episode is also powered by one of our proud Kickstarter Season 3 backers and their game Nouvelle France, which just launched to Kickstarter. Nouvelle France is an abstract strategy game where you need to skillfully place construction blocks to build 3 historic sites from the Nouvelle France era. Outweigh your opponents and thereby gain points. Add to that 3 further ways to either bettering your score or hindering your opponents. Take that game like the Leafs like. Be on the lookout or come back and listen to our interview with the publisher on Saturday the 14th of September and back Nouvelle France before 10 October. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the show.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Welcome to Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. Today we're joined by the creators and masterminds of a new game that's currently on Kickstarter. Maybe you like to spend time in the kitchen baking, but you don't like the mess or the cleanup, and you'd like to bring that all to the tabletop in a fun game. Well, we got a treat for you then today. We are joined by the creators and masterminds behind Hasty Baker. Is that right? Is that how you guys fall in line with the new game, Marty and Brant?
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
No problem. Now, before we jump into your game, let's rewind a little bit if we could. How did you guys get into playing tabletop board game? Maybe we'll start with you, Marty, and then you afterwards, Brant.
Yeah, well, our family's always loved playing games. We're really family focused, I guess. My wife has always been family focused, and I love games and stuff. And so, you know, I've been excited that my kids are now old enough that they can play games with me and understand how to play. So it's been exciting for this project, you know, to see them really getting involved and having fun with it.
Awesome. And what games are you playing these days, Marty?
I like Grandpa Beck's games. I've been playing Cover Your Assets a little. It's a little shout out to him. I like Carcassonne and some of those strategic, you know, kind of games. Yeah, that's a lot of it. I really like playing tabletop games because I know my kids are really into video games, and you know, it's really nice to pull them away from the screen for a little bit and get face to face.
Most definitely. Is there a game that is able to pull them away better than others?
Well, I don't want to toot my own horn, but we have been playing Hasty Baker. I don't know how many hours and upon hours. They ask me to play it like every night, and so it's been pretty popular around here for the past few months. Um, but yeah, other than that, just a smattering of different games.
Well, there you go. There can't be anything better than free and excited playtesters, can there?
Right.
Awesome. What about yourself, Brant? How did you get into playing tabletop board games?
Yeah, so I've always been I've always been excited to play lots of board games too. And like Marty said, growing up, we had lots of games in our closet. When I went to college, um, I played tons of board games with my roommates and just all my other friends too. When we weren't out playing sports, we were in playing board games or something. And then when I got married, I married into a family that was way more into board games than even I was. And so, we would go to family events, and every family event that we went to, somebody got out a card game or a board game of some kind, and we would sometimes just play late into the night. So it's just always been a part of our life, I guess, and a part of what we like to do.
Awesome. And what games are you playing these days, Brant?
So I also enjoy the Grandpa Beck's games. Cover Your Asset is one of our family's favorites, um, and we have a massive closet full of games to choose from. But the ones that get chosen the most are the ones that my kids can play also. And so I have a 6-year-old daughter who is old enough now to play some of them with us, and so games like Cover Your Assets, or she's good enough to play several of the games. It used to be that she always wanted to play Candyland, but that's not my favorite game because it takes no skill. You just flip over cards the whole time, but it's fun and we have it. Mostly, we like to play lots of Skip Bo also. And we have Super Mario Brothers, the card game. That's a pretty fun one, a new one that we got.
Awesome. Have you tried the Mario Monopoly?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, those are kind of fun. Better twist on Monopoly than anybody else has done, so that's pretty cool. And so Candyland, you decided to kill Candyland with Hasty Bakers?
Yeah, it's just, it was one that the girls liked to go to, and I think mostly because they like candy, and so they got to talk about candy the whole game. But this has given them a chance to still talk about those treats that they like, but it's a little more fun for the adults, a lot more fun for the adults, really.
Word on the street is you guys created a new game, Hasty Baker. What can you tell us about it?
So the game, it's baking themed, obviously, and each player is trying to be the hastiest baker. And you have a number of recipes, and so each player gets a recipe, and then there's a draw pile full of ingredients, and you get 7 cards in your hand, and you're trying to get the right ingredients for your cards. But the twist is that we've created what we call strategy cards. It's just other cards that have things like that allow you to spoil ingredients, and so everybody that has one of the ingredients for the recipe in play, they have to discard them. And you can steal ingredients, and you can do things like make someone do a double batch, which means that they have to do double the ingredients for their recipe. And so everybody's trying to get these recipes finished. And there's a couple of cards in there that can give you an extra point. There's the blue ribbon card, which means your recipe was extra tasty, and so you when you finish your recipe, you get an extra point for that, and you put that in your little points pile. And so it's turn based, so it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to go super fast. And the concepts are simple. I mean, you have 4 ingredients per recipe. We don't do anything like, certain amounts of ingredients. There's no 4 cups of flour or whatever. It's just you have flour, butter, sugar, that kind of thing. And you just try to get those cards and put them down on your recipe and complete the recipes. And the first one to 5 points, it kind of depends on how many players you have really and how long you want to play. But kind of the average is about 30 minutes. If you have two players, it goes a little quicker because you're both taking turns, more often. But we usually go to about 5 points, and that works out pretty well. And if you can play up to 6 players. We figure that's about the max. That's a pretty good group. And if you have that many players, you might want to play to to 4 points or something, because with that many players taking turns, it can stretch longer than 30 minutes. So, but it's a lot of fun. We've had a lot of people play it, and when they get to 5 points, they say, "Well, let's play to 7, or let's play to 10." They they want to just keep playing. Uh, so we've had a really good response from it, and I think the concepts are really simple enough that kids are able to really grasp it, and we've seen them pick up on it really quickly. It's actually been sort of surprising to me how well the kids pick it up. And being an adult, there's strategy to it. So, uh, yeah, Brent, do you want to talk a little about some of the strategy aspects, like double batch and whatnot?
From the very beginning, we wanted to make it something that was simple enough for the kids to understand and to keep their attention, but have enough complexity or enough twists and turns that it also keeps the attention of the adults. Like I was saying about Candyland, it's okay, but I mean, it's been a game that I've had since I was young, but I don't enjoy playing it that much, just because you flip over a card, you move your person, and that's all you do the entire game. And so we wanted to give it something more so that it was fun. Even if adults were playing with other adults and there were no kids involved, it would still be fun. So some of the strategy elements that we've incorporated, like double batch. This is a card that you play on another person's recipe. You could play it on yourself, and that's one of the strategic parts. One of the tempting parts is that if you complete your recipe with a double batch, you get an extra point. So it might be tempting to play it on yourself, and you could, or you could play it on another person, and then they have to double the amount of ingredients in order to complete their recipe. So each recipe takes 4 ingredients. They get a double batch played on them. They don't get to score that recipe and get the points until now they have 8 ingredients. So it just takes longer.
But they're also going to get the extra points in.
Right. So it takes longer. You're hoping that you can score more before they can score. But that's the flip side of it, is they're going to get an extra point if they do score it. And then there's also the broken timer card. So if you imagine, you're baking in the kitchen and your timer broke and you left your cake in too long and it burnt, and you got to throw it away and start over. So that's kind of the aspect of that card. And so somebody's getting close to being able to score their recipe, and you play the broken timer on them, and it wipes out all their ingredients, wipes out their recipe. You have to just flip over a new recipe and start over. So there's a couple of those strategic elements to it. There's a wild ingredient. You can spoil stuff. You can spoil ingredients, like I think Marty mentioned earlier. So you might look around and see that a lot of people have milk, but you don't yet. So you spoil milk, and everybody has to throw away their milk that's in play. Something like that.
Awesome. It sounds pretty fun. So per se, we sat down to play Hasty Baker. What's my turn going to look like?
So there's 3 options for actions that you can take during a turn. So this is one of those games where you have different actions, and you get to do 2 of those actions each turn. So when it's your turn, you can either play a recipe, or sorry, play an ingredient on your recipe. And so playing an ingredient means you take an ingredient out of your hand and you put it on the table next to your recipe. And once it's on the table next to your recipe, then, that's where it can get spoiled or stolen or whatever. And so that's one action that you can take. Another action is to play a strategy card. And so, if you have a spoil ingredient card, you could put that down and call out an ingredient, and everybody has to throw that away. That's a turn or action. And then if you don't really have anything to do and you need a new card because you don't have the right ingredients or whatever, you can also just replace a card in your hand. So you discard one and pick up a new one. And so you sort of choose from those. And then we also have the Hasty Baker card. And the Hasty Baker lets you have an extra action. And you can use multiple Hasty Bakers in one turn. And so you could plop down, a couple Hasty Bakers and then end up with like, 4 actions that you can take. And that's pretty fun because it's sort of like this superpower card that potentially if you saved them up and used them at the right time, when you have cards that you need in your hand, you could end up just completing a recipe like in one turn. And so that's a lot of fun. So you kind of have to decide like what cards should I put down, and what action should I take that will be best for me in this turn. You might have a wild ingredient, and that's tempting to put down on your recipe. But my kids actually sort of realized this strategy that if they put down their wild on their recipe before they finish it, then somebody might have a steal ingredient and be able to take that wild. So it's I've actually learned a little bit of strategy from my kids too. But yeah, so that's your turn, and then you make sure you draw up to 7 cards again. So you always have 7 cards at the end of your turn, and another action that you might take, the strategy card, is to take 2 from someone's hand. So you could choose another player and you sort of randomly draw 2 out of their hand, and that gives you another 2 cards that you can choose from to figure out how to which ones you need to keep or play. And then when it gets to that person's turn, they only have 5 cards that they can play with until the end of their turn, when they can finally draw back up. So it sort of helps you, gives you a little bit of an advantage that turn, and puts them at a little bit of a disadvantage when it's finally their turn. So
Awesome. It sounds like a fun game. You talked about learning some strategy from your kids. Did you guys' kids ever have anything to point out in play testing that you guys had to scrap or get rid of because it wouldn't work for the game?
Absolutely. Yeah, we played with a lot of family and friends in play testing before we just started, opening it to other public events and stuff. But yeah, we've had a lot of things some cards that just didn't quite work out right. In the beginning, we actually were trying to figure out how to draw from to make an option to draw from the discard pile, but there were some aspects of that didn't quite work, and it really helped too, doing all the play testing with everybody, with friends and family in the beginning, helped us kind of figure out how many of each card was appropriate for the deck, so that some cards didn't come up too often. You don't want to get flour constantly, and you're never able to get the other ingredients or other strategy cards or something like that. Broken timer is kind of like a nuclear option, so we didn't want to have too many of those, because then it makes it hard to finish recipes because people keep bombing them with the broken timer. And so yeah, it has helped.
Well, that's good to hear. And I love the art. How did you find the artist for it?
that was great. We used Upwork, and if you've heard of that, that's a online service where you can find freelancers and put out sort of a call for help, and they submit sort of their application. And we actually had over 40 applicants to do art for our game, and so it was really cool. We were able to go through a lot of people and see their portfolios and choose one. And the artist that we have for our game, he was actually one of the very first ones, and he really impressed us when we put out the the request, it was like I think it was around 9 o'clock p.m. my time. And the next day, before noon, we had his application, and he had drawn. It was a potato sack, which potatoes aren't in our game, but it was an example of his drawing that he drew specifically for us and colored it, painted it, and everything. And it looked just like what the cards we have now. Um, and so we were super impressed with that. Most applicants, they just say, point at their portfolio, and we would go there and it'd be a bunch of like Dungeons and Dragons stuff, or anime or something, and we're like, well, that's not really what we're looking for. And uh and they would say, well, I can do anything. And okay, well, show us. And they would draw us some more anime or something. And so it was it was tough because there's so many different styles out there, and we really had a specific vision for what we wanted for the art. We needed it to be really uplifting. We wanted something that was a fun family game that was like, you would look at the cards and they would just emanate this joy that was like infectious. And so our artist really, really did a good job, I think, of capturing that. And he was really patient with us. We were picky about a lot of things, and I'm sure artists go through this all the time, but we had a really specific vision, and we would take the art and we would go and we would show our kids, and we would show friends, kids and adults alike, and just get their opinion on, what's good about this? Do you like this? Is it, does it fit with the game? And we got a ton of feedback, and so we were able to really pick what we think is just, perfect characters for it. And, and with the bakers that are depicted in it, there's a girl baker and a boy baker, and then the Hasty Baker is like a old guy. And he did a really good job of making the bakers just look like these happy, like they're having fun, and um, throwing a little diversity in there, and just making it like a really like uplifting game. I mean, that was a big focus of ours. We wanted it to be a happy game, something that boosts your mood, and not something that I would picture guys playing in their basement with the lights dim, if you know what I mean. It's sort of a change from a lot of the games that you see on Kickstarter and a lot of the new ones that have been coming out. So
Yeah, I love the happy cartooniness of your ingredient card.
yeah, they're great. We just love it.
The short story answer: when it comes to Hasty Bakers, what makes your game pop as one my audience should go check out the Kickstarter page, and if they like what they see, back it today.
Well, so something that's kind of it's kind of fills a unique niche. Though the way that we got the idea for it in the first place was because I watch a lot of baking competition shows with my kids and my wife, and we still do, and we love it. And for a while there, every night that I was laying down, I would have ideas about how, like, oh, this could be a card game if you had this recipe and you had to collect these to complete it and stuff like that. There's really no card game that's out there that kind of simulates that bake-off experience. And so that's what we kind of did with this is it's sort of like you're in a baking competition, but like you mentioned earlier, without the mess and the cleanup, just the cards. And so you get to have this baking experience. You get to include your whole family. It's fun. It's easy to store and carry around. The energy that comes from the game is great, and I mean, it's just there's really not a lot out there that's quite like it. There's nothing that fills that bake-off competition niche.
We've seen a lot of this disconnection, this people just staring at their screens, and I think there's more and more depression around, and I'm not going to claim to be a a scientist on the matter, but I think that, when we are in connection with others, when we're playing with other people and like really connecting with them, that I think that boosts our mood and that just sort of helps our overall health. And so one of the things that we just sort of kept in mind as we made this game is like we want it to be interactive and fun, so that when you're with other people sitting down face to face, that you're having a great time. And a lot of games try to do that, but we really like kept it a focus and made sure that it was a positive experience. It's competition, so you're kind of, you're getting each other, you're stealing from each other and stuff, but it's not a devastating sort of thing. It's a really fun experience. So we hope that everybody sees that. We've had teachers say that they love it and they want it for their classrooms and stuff. So we've had this feedback that like this isn't like the other games. This Kickstarter that we have is for a game that is super positive, that it helps kids. If you have kids, it's something that really inspires them. And if you're an adult and you don't have kids, it's fun too. You can play with your friends and enjoy it as well. So we think we've got something that's really exciting.
Yeah, speaking of kids, too bad Charlie hasn't found your Kickstarter yet, because he said he would pay $10 million for this game.
Right. He was one of our playtesters, and we have a sheet that we would put out, with their comments on it. And there was a line on there, how much would you pay for this game? We wanted to kind of get a feel for what people saw it as a value. And he put $10 million. So I thought that was pretty funny. If we average out all the values that people put in that spot, we'd have a pretty good game, I think.
Well, there you go, for sure, most definitely. And we'll make sure we leave all the links in the show notes so they can go ahead and click on over, so they'll be able to find the Kickstarter easy.
We'd love to get it out there and get it in the hands of people. It's everybody that's had it has just loved it. So, we'd love to get another copy out there into somebody's hands that does the giveaway.
Awesome. Yeah, so watch our it'll probably be live by the time we have this episode live, so go back and check our Facebook page over at the Giveaway Geek on Facebook. And so we don't want to keep you guys all day, so mine is coming there to your hometown to stalk you. How can people go about keeping up with you and everything you have going on over there at Go Chuckle LLC?
Yeah, so Hasty Baker has a website right now, hastybaker.com, and we also are on Facebook, so facebook.com/hastybaker. We're on Instagram. We've got a YouTube channel going, and you can go to any of those sites to stay connected with us even after the Kickstarter, and then we'll be making the game available for sale after Kickstarter as well.
Awesome. Yeah, speaking of after Kickstarter, right now we're focused on getting Hasty Baker funded so it can become a reality, but somebody's listening later on down the road after the Kickstarter's over and everything. Is there any secrets in your back pocket of other stuff you might be working on for the future?
There is. We do have a lot of ideas. We actually, one of the ideas that has been kicking around for quite a while that we want to finish is what I call it, the crafting table cookbook. So it's taken a little while to get that put together. But the hope is, if we're successful at it, we're going to get YouTubers and famous celebrities and stuff to sort of introduce recipes in that and make it fun for kids. And it's sort of Minecrafty or video game themed. So there's a lot of kids that's really popular now. So we wanted to use something that would sort of bridge that gap. So that's in development, and books take a long time to put together, but that's something to watch out for. And then we have, of course, a number of other games that we have thought of that variations on the Hasty Baker, as well as completely new ideas that sort of go along with our mission to bring people together face to face.
Awesome. But before we can do any of that, we need to get Hasty Baker off the ground. So if you're listening right now, make sure you go ahead and jump on over, check out the Kickstarter page, and back it so you can be able to play this fun game as well as enter our giveaway over at the Giveaway Geeks Facebook page. But like I said, we don't want to keep you guys all night, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf with us to talk all about Hasty Baker that'll be on Kickstarter through the 30th of September. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It was a pleasure being here.
No problem. Wow, that was great sitting down with them to talk all about Hasty Baker. Now I even more want to play this game than I did before. If you feel the same way, make sure you back Hasty Baker and make sure you check out our giveaway that we're doing. Together with those from Gold Chuckle LLC, we've teamed up to bring one lucky listener a $50 Amazon gift card and their own copy of Hasty Baker. So make sure to jump on over to any of our social media accounts for the Giveaway Geek with lots of chances to win. Now let's go with Batterina Leaf. Where are we going, Batterina?
Kickstarter corner!
I'm a big fan of the 70s and the 90s. The Gamer Leaf family constantly calls me old. Don't tell them I'm starting to believe them. I've never really played war games, but when I saw this game on Kickstarter, I knew I had to have it. What game, you may ask yourself? Well, that's a great question. Good thing I'm here. It's Saigon 75, in which you relive the civil war that took place between North and South Vietnam from the summer of 73 to the spring of 1975. It plays 1 to 2 players, and it takes about 60 minutes, and it's for 14 years and older. Saigon 75 is a simple and swift strategic game simulating that civil war between North and South Vietnam from summer of 1973 to the spring of 1975. Everything's contained within a few pages of rules and 1 hour of fun. With pressure at every moment, the game portrays the differences between the North Vietnamese divisions and the Rangers, Marines, paratroopers, and other units of the South Vietnamese. Air power and desertion are also featured, with the experience being completed by event cards that give the game great replayability. It's an ingenious mix that keeps the players on tenterhooks right up until the last turn. There will be no pledge manager for Saigon 75, but you know what there will be? That's right, there will be a giveaway over at thegiveawaygeek.com, so be on the lookout for that and back Saigon 75 before Tuesday the 10th of September. Also, make sure you're subscribed to Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf so you don't miss my episode as I sit down with the creators and masterminds of Saigon 75 later on this week or early next week. And either way, make sure you back Saigon 75 before Tuesday the 10th of September. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but someday the piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age, said H.P. Lovecraft in The Call of Cthulhu. Times are dark and sinister agents move in the shadows. In elder shadows, as the cultist, you will set perilous traps, summon fearful specters, and cast reality warping spells to protect the secrets of the elder shadows. Chanting secret phrases, you will acquire a combination of symbols on each location to complete the rite of your eldritch nightmare. As the investigations to expose the cult, facing maddening dangers and grotesque specters, your duty is to find the horrors that lurk in those elder shadows. Can you stop the elder ones from awakening? Elder Shadows on Kickstarter for the month of September is a 2-player strategy card game set in H.P. Lovecraft's beloved mythos. The cult clashes with the investigator in a game where sanity matters most and one misstep could signal the end of humanity. There's a giveaway going on over at our other site, thegiveawaygeek.com. Plus, we'll be having Nicholas on the show later on this week or early next week, so make sure you're subscribed to our podcast in your favorite podcast catcher. And if this is after the recording, make sure you go back and listen to our Elder Shadows episode on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf, so you don't miss out on all the Cthulhu fun we'll be having. Make sure you head on over and enter the giveaway today and back Elder Shadows on Kickstarter before the 2nd of October. There is a world out there where everyone is a torso, separated from their butts. No one is sure why or how, but one thing's for certain: everyone wants their butts back. Unfortunately, there is only one butt left in the entire world: the almighty butt, and everyone wants it for themselves. This is the world of the Everyone Shares One Butt game. The Everyone Shares One Butt game is a new path-building party game. There are unlimited ways to play. With more than 100 unique cards and various synergies, every playthrough will be different from the last. Be the first one to reach the almighty butt to win. Some exclusive cards will also be available on their Kickstarter. Go check it out. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf so you don't miss my sit down with the creators of this game next week. Or if you're listening later on, we'll have that interview airing the first week in September 2019. If you don't have a game where there's only one buttocks, make sure you go back the Everyone Shares One Butt game before September 25th, 2019. Did you catch my last episode of Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf all about the King of Indecision? Nope? Well, go back and listen. We'll wait for you. What'd you think? My thoughts exactly. Sounds like quite the game. I can't wait to play it. King of Indecision is a game for 2 to 5 players that plays in about 40 to 50 minutes. You play the role of a noble trying to gain the favor of the king, but his Royal Highness is very indecisive, changing his mind about what he wants. Still, you gather as much gold, silk, spice, white stallions, or peacocks that he desires for that moment to earn his favor in court. On your turn, you have 6 actions to choose from and will select 3. You can add or move to another tile to explore. You can gather treasure, you can hire new workers, or make a trade, and most importantly, make an offering to the king. The timing of your offering is everything and can make or break the moment when the king suddenly changes his mind, demanding something else. Through 5 rounds of play, the stakes get higher and available options increase. You'll need to watch other nobles and make the right decision at the right time. The player who gains the most favor by the end of the game will be the winner. It's not easy being a noble in this court, but the elements of surprise, strategy, and suspense are what keeps players coming back to the King of Indecision. Here's what some people are saying: this game is so easy to learn and so fun to play. Would play it over and over again as it's completely different each time, said Penny Slack. I enjoyed this game as much as Century or Splendor, said Harry Lee. Very original and enjoyable game. Highly recommended, said Tina. Super fun to play. Very exciting. Keeps all players on their toes through the game, said Yes Carr. And last but not least, is David Espinoza had this to say: I recommend this game to everyone. So make sure you go check out King of Indecision on Kickstarter. Listen to our episode if you missed it still, and back it before the end of the month. And make sure you head on over to thegiveawaygeek.com. We've got some awesome giveaways going on, more being added every day almost, so make sure you check that out. And let's go ahead and close this episode out, shall we, people? If you liked any of the games we talked about in today's episode, make sure you check out their Kickstarter campaigns to show them and us a little love. Backing them goes a long way. Plus, make sure to stay up to date on all the giveaways we're doing over at thegiveawaygeek.com. there will be at least 2 to 3 new giveaways going live over there next week. It's our least favorite time as well as yours, so until next episode, make sure you go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others in the geek fold by sharing our episodes with others, as well as keeping up with the giveaways we're doing over at thegiveawaygeek.com. GamerLeaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.